Hello and welcome back to episode 4 of my foray into self-sufficiency and solar panels and that sort of stuff. And the big day has been and gone. I now have my solar panels, and I'm very pleased with how well it's gone, to be honest. So the day before the installation, the scaffolding team arrived and put scaffolding up down one side of the house. And then the next day, bright and early, a couple of electricians and a couple of roofers turned up. Shortly after they arrived, a delivery of a big crate full of solar panels was delivered. And it was a lovely, warm, sunny day. Not raining, so the roofers had a nice easy job of it. So they went up onto the roof and started to put the metal brackets on that hold the panels in place, and while they were doing that, the two electricians got started in the cupboard under the stairs where I wanted to have my inverters put, and started marking out where the brackets go so that the inverter could be hung up on the wall. They were also doing some wiring work in my fuse box and in my main electricity distribution box, where my meter is, to add in some new stuff that's needed as part of the install. Once all the panels had been placed on the roof, they ran cables through a conduit down the side of the house, which is lovely and neat, and probably, apart from the panels themselves, the only sign exterior to the house that anything has been done. So I was quite pleased with how well that looks now it's finished. The wires run inside the conduit, and they started connecting those up to the solar panels, and then the other ends were connected up to the inverters that were then hung on the walls inside the cupboard, and then that was all wired together and connected to the wires that took the power back to the main meter in the external electricity box, along with my normal meter. And that's pretty much it. It was a long day for them. They were there till probably about 7 o'clock at night. Like I said, my system's a little bit unusual in that I've got two inverters. Most people don't have that. They only have one typically. So there was a little bit of extra work for them there, but also because I was having the battery backed up system, they also had to get to grips with the battery, and neither of the electricians had ever fitted this particular type of system before, so there was a bit of head scratching going on and a bit of manual reading taking place, but ultimately in the end they got it all wired up and connected and installed in the cupboard and switched it on. We got a little bit of voltage just before the daylight disappeared, because, as I say, they didn't finish until quite late in the evening. But then the next morning, when the sun came up, we started generating and charging our battery for the first time. So on the whole, it went pretty well. We had a few alarms going off on the battery system the first morning. Or actually the first few mornings. Weren't really sure what they were about. One of the electricians came back out to have a look at that, spoke with the tech support team from the company that manufactured it, and tweaked a few settings, and all the problems seem to have disappeared, and it seems to be behaving itself nicely now. So yeah, the system's working well. It's been installed now for about 2 weeks, 3 weeks, something like that. And we've had an unbelievable amount of sunny weather this towards the end of September and into early October for this time of year, but we're not complaining because we've been generating a lot of electricity. We've been exporting a lot of electricity. Certainly find that the battery on a clear sunny day, within about an hour and a half of the sun coming up, the battery's fully charged, and seems to help to iron out a lot of the sort of peaks and troughs during the day. You know, if you suddenly switch the kettle on and there's not quite enough solar power to power the kettle on its own, rather than pulling from the grid, it'll pull some power from the battery, so that you don't pull anything in from the grid, and then once that's finished, it'll then recharge the battery back up again over the next few minutes from the solar panels, and usually by the end of the day the battery's fully charged as the sun goes down. And depending on what we do in the evening, it can last us a fair amount of time. The longest it's lasted us is actually till about midnight, I think. And but if we're all sort of watching the TV and the kids are on their games consoles and stuff, it probably doesn't last much beyond 10 o'clock. So I would like to get a second battery at some point, but I'm going to wait for a few months and see what happens with the marketplace. The Tesla battery's coming out shortly, and that plus other market factors I'm hoping will help to drive the price of the batteries down a little bit more, and I'll get a second one hopefully for cheaper than I bought the first one for. But I definitely think it'd be worth having a second one, because I think that will probably make us last until pretty much everyone's gone to bed, and then we'll only be drawing a sort of a bare minimum through the night, you know, for the fridge and the freezer and the few appliances that are on all the time, like the TV recorder and that sort of thing. So yeah, I'm just waiting to get some of my initial bills back for my first month where I've had solar installed, and hopefully that should show a bit of a drop. But then the next month hopefully will be a full month of having solar panels, so that should show the biggest drop. And it'd be quite interesting to see how much a difference that makes to our normal usage. I've made my Fit application, pretty much did that, filling in the paperwork while they were installing the system, and then I took my meter reading the first morning after they'd finished. This is my generation meter reading. Put that on the form, filled it all out, emailed it to my electricity company, and they signed me all up. I managed to get in before the end of October, so I get the slightly higher feed-in rate, which was one of my goals of trying to get in before the end of October, so that for the next 20 years now I'm guaranteed that price for all the electricity I generate. So it all came off really good. I should get it was literally the end of a quarter when I did the submission, so I won't see my first money return now from my feed-in until about 3 months from now, December time. I'll have to send off my first generation meter reading, and then 7 to 8 weeks after that I should get my first payment of feed-in money. My inverter, the big one with the battery, is got sort of a website associated with it where it uploads data to, so that I can sort of see graphs of how the battery's charged and how much power I'm using, how much I'm generating, what the solar potential is at any given time, and all that sort of stuff. So I'll try and show some footage of those sort of things in the next video when I talk about exactly how much how much I'm generating, and we'll examine some of the graphs and see how long the battery lasts and that sort of thing. So I'll do all that in the next video. But for this video, I just wanted to show some photos and some video of the installed items, and give you some information about how long it took, and what was involved, and let you see that it was a pretty painless experience on the whole. The scaffolders came the day after the install and took the scaffolding down, and so literally within the 3 days, no visible signs that anything had taken place. You can't even see my solar panels from the street side of our house. You can only really see them if you climb our very steep garden to the top, and then you can see the roof of the house and you can see the panels then. But they do look really nice. It's kind of a shame you can't see them from the street, but on the whole, I'm very pleased. So on that note, I'll leave it there for this video, and hopefully I'll have a lot of data to share in the next video, so do check back then. Okay, see you later, bye.